Canucks get sunk by the San Jose Sharks, 6-3 the final at Rogers Arena. We're talking about it now, right here on Rink Wide Vancouver. Season's greetings, everybody. We welcome you inside the Pacific Toyota Dealers Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealers today. I'm Jeff Patterson. He is Patrick Johnston of the Province and Post Media. It's Rink Wide. It's brought to you in part by Bet365. And guess what? We're here to break down another Vancouver Canucks loss. So, yeah, the holiday season has sort of come and gone. At least Christmas has come and gone, but not much has changed with this Vancouver Canucks. Remember the 4-game win streak there just before Christmas?
I do. Yeah, that was
feels like a lifetime ago.
Really? Well, it was 10 days ago. It feels like I don't even know. It was only a week ago, Jeff.
I know.
Isn't that shocking?
This is so much more the same on home ice. The paying customers deserve so much better. So much better. The Canucks are 4-11-1. Yes, 4-11-1. That is 4 wins in 16 games at Rogers Arena as they follow the Sharks. And with things that have happened around the Vancouver Canucks in the National Hockey League, they are back to dead last and 32nd in the overall standings. 6-3 was the final. They lost to the Flyers before the break. They come out of the break with a loss to the Sharks. So that's back-to-back losses. 15-9-3 on the season, stuck on 33 points now in 37 games played. As they approach the midway mark of the season, they're not far off the 41-game mark. They've got 33 points. You start to do the math, then you can extrapolate half a season. They're going to struggle to get to 70 points this year.
Oh, my God.
I know. When you think of the projections at the outset and win for Quinn and all of that, and here they are. And again, they've made the trade. New guys are here. Marco Rossi scored on both goals. Or both nets.
Better than Louis Eriksson ever did in his
it sort of had shades of, and it kind of takes me back to a point in time when we spent too much time talking about Louis Eriksson. Whatever the case, these are the Sharks, the most permissive team in the National Hockey League, and the Canucks had trouble scoring on them and gave up way too many shots, way too many goals. And as a result, they were the second-best team on the ice. And so, Thatcher Demko's back. He was supposed to be the savior. This was not a particularly good night for him. It started with the first goal, the Ryan Reeves goal, and it continued. And it was an onslaught. At the end of the night, Sharks get 6, including an empty netter. But as much as the goals that they're giving up, Pat, it is the shot totals, too. Like, if you look at the process, sure, they won those first 4 after the trade. Fine. But in the last 3 games in Boston, Philadelphia, and now here, they're giving up 35 plus. Yeah. They're just making it way too easy on the other teams.
Too many. 35 plus. You nailed it. I mean, it was wild. I was even looking at on that road trip, just the overall trend in shot attempts against. I know they got a lot of shots for, but defensively they really had a hard time there.
And this is you have to keep this in mind, too. Like, these are the Sharks. We know where they've been the last couple of years. They landed, they hit a grand slam with the first overall pick. Macklin Celebrini is breathtaking to watch in person. We were both there for the first couple of periods, came back here to the studio to host the show. The guy had 16 shot attempts. Like, you just stop and think about how much you have to have the puck on your stick and have to have a willingness to shoot it as well. EP40 back in the lineup. Just celebrate. He's a teenager. He scores his 20th goal of the season in the game after Christmas. He's going to get an Olympic jersey, a late Christmas present coming up here later this week. There's no way they can leave him off this team. And his ability to create space for himself and then to find the right spots on the ice, too, and guys are able to find him. You look at his goal, and there's just no hesitation. Just pull the trigger. And, again, you get 16 shot attempts, pretty good chance that at least one of them is going to find the back of the net. He could have had a bunch in this hockey game. He ends up with 1 and 1, so a goal and an assist. His 20th goal of the season. And this is pretty remarkable stuff. When you think of Macklin Celebrini, I mean, we all sort of take some ownership. North Vancouver guy, right? So he's one of ours. he becomes the 5th active player in the National Hockey League to score 20 as a teenager.
Yeah.
Again, like the age matters here. He's a teen still for a few more months, and he's got 20 on the season. And so he joins a list that includes Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Patrick Laine, and there was one other here that I'll find it. Doesn't matter. I mean, the same company as Sid and Steven Stamkos. You're doing some pretty good things.
I mean, it's Sid to me that's what stands out, because I mean, I know we talked about this a bit during the game, and I talked to a few people this morning, and that's the comparison that more and more is coming out. And we certainly saw it tonight. First of all, there's the release, right? The ability to play track, but that release and just the way he lets it go. And there was that back check in the first period on Connor Garland where he just absolutely hammered Garland in the corner. Just skated hard, came back, did his job, and sort of the competitiveness of him. I mean, you can see why the Sharks are excited. Obviously, they've got a lot of work to do defensively, but when they have the puck on their stick, they are fun. And, as I also said, it was quite the contrast looking at that first line left wing. Canucks have Evander Kane. The Sharks have William Eklund. The list just kind of goes on. They've got these, and they weren't even playing Will Smith, as I think you were noting yourself. Like, it's an impressive group of young offensive talent. They've just got to sort out how to play in their own end.
Austin Matthews, the other guy on that list.
Tough.
So, yeah, you're doing some amazing things if you're keeping the company of Stamkos and Sid and Austin Matthews early in their careers as well. We talked about Ryan Reeves. We talked about Thatcher Demko in the context of it started with Ryan Reeves. Yeah, Ryan Reeves in the lineup, which in some ways is a surprise because Rick Tocchet in Philly the other day, he scratched Nick Delorier and Garnet Hathaway. Like, why do you need those guys? The Canucks are not a team that's going to offer a lot of resistance that way. So I was a little surprised that Ryan Reeves gets in the lineup. Not only does he does that, he scores the opening goal off a scramble. Thatcher Demko makes the original save. Puck squirts free. It's sitting there in the blue paint. Everybody in the building could see it. And as he reaches back with his glove, he sort of is pulling it, but he doesn't have his blocker over the puck. And I think this is the distinction.
Yeah.
Is he's sort of pulling it back away from the net, and Reeves just comes with a jam play and essentially pushes the puck under his glove and in. We're watching it on the live stream here. Reeves is a big dude. We know that. Tom Willander doesn't do an awful lot to impede him.
No.
And I know Thatcher Demko wasn't happy about it. I mean, Thatcher Demko believes that, as a goalie, you should be able to stop just about everything. I think he wanted the Canucks to challenge, but I don't know. I've watched the replay 100 times now. Like, to me, it's a bang-bang sort of play. I don't see enough to have overturned the call on the ice.
I had found the rule earlier, and I can't find I've lost it. But anyway, no, it was pretty clear. I mean, there was basically, if you go in the rule book, there's a simultaneous. You're trying to play the puck. The goalie's trying to sort of freeze the puck. If you're playing it simultaneously and it becomes a goal, that's fine. And that's clearly what we saw because he didn't have control of the puck. He was definitely sort of, as they would call it, coverage. He was sort of had his hand in front of the puck, trying to keep it away from the goal. And, we can see how strong Ryan Reeves is because he just absolutely overpowered everything and did his job. I mean, not a lot of ice time for him tonight, but it sounded like a pretty good chirp at Connor Garland.
Yeah, they were having a little go there between the benches. We're getting play-by-play from Ray Ferraro at ice level. So the Sharks take a 1-0 lead 6 minutes in. They extend it 2 minutes later. Celebrini beats EP40 clean on the draw, and John Klingberg with a long wrist shot, sort of seeing eye, but a shot from that distance, and it actually looked like a lane sort of opened up. Like it just kind of found its way through Thatcher Demko.
You wondered if Demko was maybe still a bit steamed about the previous goal. But either way, it was not a goal we're used to him seeing let through, right? I mean, that has been such a non-story, right? Like he has been so solid for this team. And of course, everyone on the road trip being worried, well, is Thatcher Demko going to spoil the tank here because they can't afford to have him play as well as he wants to play. Well, he helped that effort tonight, which was...
Yeah, and he's coming off a 3-day break like all of them, so this isn't a workload issue. They've got back-to-backs coming up here, so he's going to take a night off for sure. But, he wasn't sharp. The team in front of him wasn't particularly sharp, and as a result, they get a 6-spot hung on them by the San Jose Sharks, who, as you said, are fun. They're young. They were without Will Smith, their second leading scorer, and I think you have to mention that, too, that... the Canucks have been without players for much of the season, but Now they get Elias Pettersson back. They have Nils Höglander. They're choosing to scratch him right now, and that's another story. And Aatu Räty on the shelf as well, or not on the shelf, on the sidelines. And they've got bodies and some internal competition. If the door isn't open after a night like this to get a few of those guys back in, then you really have to wonder what's going on with some of the lineup decisions. The Canuck goals, Linus Karlsson continues to do his part to show that he's an everyday NHLer on the power play. Nifty pass from Connor Garland to the back door. Karlsson taking a page out of Garland's book, sort of shortened up his stick and made himself available, and Garland hit him with a pass, and Karlsson got the Canucks within one. And this was sort of the story of the night. Canucks would get close, and then the Sharks would put some distance between them again. And so it was 2-1 after one. It was 3-1, just one goal in the second period. A little unfortunate for Marco Rossi. It's credited to William Eklund. Yeah. And because it's essentially an own goal, it robs Macklin Celebrini of an assist because he was in on that play. So he doesn't get a point there, but he ends up with his fingerprints all over the victory for the San Jose Sharks. And then Rossi scores 36 seconds into the third period, and Canucks are back within one. You think, lots of time here. Here's their opportunity against sort of the grain, and maybe they're not deserving. I kind of felt like at some point they were going to catch these Sharks here, but it wasn't to be. Because the Canucks give up a power play goal, and then Drew Connor scores shorthanded. Again, they're within one. And then Celebrini with the absolute dagger with about 3.5 minutes to play is one-timer, beats Demko. That made it 5-3, and then Colin Graf into an empty net. So that was the scoring in this hockey game. 6-3 is the final. As we said earlier, the Canucks have lost back-to-back, and boy, that home record. 4-11-1. Yikes.
It's really astounding. Listen, they're not a great team, but they've gotten wins on the road. And I wrote a thing about this a couple of weeks ago. It's actually upside down. Like, on the road, they've been badly outshot. They've struggled to sort of maintain any kind of shot balance. At home, they've actually been not bad. This was probably one of the worst sort of goals for or shots for and against situations that we've seen almost all season. But as a team, like, they've been actually not bad. Maybe a bit unlucky at home, and yet here we are looking at 4. It's just, you can't argue with that. 4 wins, and that's just not going to get it done unless you're on Team Tank, and then you're very excited about it.
Right, and if you're on Team Tank, you love the fact that it's 1 win in 9 at home now.
Ooh.
The win over the Minnesota Wild.
The Minnesota Wild of all teams.
I know. The night that Elias Pettersson took the warm-up and took himself out of the lineup, and you thought, they have no hope here, no chance. Aatu Räty stepped up. That was their 1 win. Otherwise, they're 1-7-1 in their last 9, and that includes 3 straight losses now on either side of that 5-game road trip that took them out east up to Christmas. We're going to get to the 3 stars here in a sec, but we always tell you here on Rink Wide, we want you to be a part of it. We'll have our thoughts. We've got a lot more to get to around this game and around this hockey club, but fully interactive here. And so bring it with a super chat, and we'll get your thoughts, your comments, your questions to the top of the queue and read them here on the program. Our super chat charity partner again this season, the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research and knowledge exchange. And Spat Silly not taking the holidays off here. He comes through with a super chat and says, Rink Wide Mob, stand up. The Rink Wide Mob, I don't know, like, stand up with pitchforks and heading down to Rogers Arena. I'm not sure what you want the mob to do here exactly.
I'm just happy they're here.
Well,
I think they're on our side, Jeff.
We're happy to have the Rink Wide Mob, no question. But I think the mob is getting a little angry because it's just not pretty. Look, this was ugly tonight again. And we'll see. The old coach is coming in for the next home game.
Yeah.
That's the second of back-to-back, so we'll see what the Canucks have left in the tank here on the days all run together. That's Tuesday night.
Yes.
Monday, they are in Seattle. Let's get to the 3 stars. 3 stars on Rink Wide. A presentation of Greta Bar, and you can't spell Greta without the G and the R and the E and the T, and truly a great spot to gather with friends to watch all the big games this holiday season. Hockey, football, you name it. Games will be on the big screens. They've got food and drink specials, all those arcade games just to add to the fun. And you've heard us talk about Greta for years now. We're going to be having another Canucks Army Canucks Army watch party coming up on January 10th. Jot that date down. We'll have more details, and certainly we'll hope to see you there. Greta Bar, the place to be, 50 West Cordova. Greta Bar, let the games begin. All right, we've talked about him a bunch. Why wouldn't we talk about him in the 3 stars as well? Macklin Celebrini putting on a show back in his hometown. Celebrini, Eklund, and Garland were the 3 stars in the building. Eklund, a little cheese on the goal there. He didn't even put it in the net. So I had some trouble picking him as one of the stars. So we elected to go a slightly different direction here on Rink Wide. Celebrini, yes, the 16 shot attempts, the goal and the assist. Adam Gaudette. You remember Adam Gaudette. That was a heck of a pass that he made late in the power play in the third period to Chernyshov, who scores his first NHL goal. So the rookie, who actually had a nice night, what a spot, playing alongside Celebrini. But on the power play, it was Adam Gaudette off the right boards, Tyler Myers over on the wrong side of the ice. There were breakdowns all over the place, and Gaudette found his guy. 5 shots on goal. So he was dealing in this hockey game. Adam Gaudette's the second star. And I thought Connor Garland was buzzing. The pass to Karlsson, he also gets an assist on the Marco Rossi goal, so he was in on 2 of the 3. He was out there. It was a passing option for Drew O'Connor, who elected to shoot and made the right call there on the shorthanded goal. Garland drew a penalty. Was yakking at Ryan Reeves, as we talked about. And all of this, I think it's pretty clear watching him that he's not anywhere close to 100%. He seems to be laboring at times in just about every game. Out on the road trip, we saw that. I think the same goes for Brock Besser. Whatever the case, Garland sucked it up and played hard. So he is the 3rd star in this hockey game.
Well, and I think I said it in the game. I'm going to note it in my game story as well. Just, you watch Besser especially. I mean, Garland obviously is going to keep competing, and as Bruce Boudreau used to say, is always going to drag you into the fight. But I just look at Besser, and we can tell he's struggling. Never the fastest guy out there, but you can just tell he's having a hard time getting to pucks. I think he's doing his best, and he's trying, but he just can't get any shots off. And it's that inability to really separate and find some space that stands out to me. And I just find myself wondering how much longer. I mean, is this a case where we're going to, they're sort of playing until you can, and then they're going to shut him down? And because in the end, admittedly, this team, admittedly for us, not for them. They would never say this, but they do not. They recognize where they're at, and that 32nd is in the long-term interests of this organization, even if it's tough to watch night to night. And so I think a move like that, in a way, is kind of what fans are going to want to see, because it's a bit like, when are you going to trade Sherwood? When are you going to trade Kane? When are you going to trade, the list goes on. And so at least you can see sort of the ongoing rebuild happening, because that's what you want to see, as opposed to sort of just sitting going, okay, what are we doing here other than trying to win, which is what they're going to do. But
right, and I get it. Brock's got an A on his jersey. They've made this trade. They've brought in new players. They're trying to turn a page from an earlier chapter in Canucks history here. But now, of all seasons, now is not the time to be the hero that this market needs. Like, if you're playing through something, step aside. There's healthy bodies for the first time all season. Like, earlier in this year, there were times where you'd say, like, the Canucks need whatever veteran. If you can play. You've got Höglander, you've got Ratu sitting out. If Brock needs some time, like, organizationally, they should be saying to him, we don't need you right now. Like, take the week or whatever. So, it's kind of curious the way things are going here with this hockey club and some of the decisions that are being made. And ultimately, we'll see, especially back-to-backs coming up here. Because the numbers are what the numbers are. Brock Besser's gone 12 games without a goal. I'm going to have to go and look. I would think that's pretty close to career-long droughts for him.
Yeah, I mean, the season where he was almost traded, there was a drought there, and I don't remember how long it was, but there were some bad times. And I remember talking to him at the end of the year, and I think that was the year we put him up for the Masters with the PHWA. But he had a ton of assists. Like, he was actually passing the puck well, and there was sort of confidence issues and all kinds of stuff, and obviously he was dealing with a lot at that point. But it's tough to remember a stretch like this.
And it's not just the 12 without a goal; it's 1 in 19, and the one just happened to come against San Jose that Black Friday afternoon. That's his only goal in the last 19 hockey games. Meanwhile, you got Drew O'Connor, who can't be stopped, and Linus Karlsson. These guys continue to score. Karlsson's up to 8 on the season. O'Connor's at 9 now. Drew O'Connor, pretty good chance he's going to be the second guy to double digits on the Vancouver Canucks this season. Kiefer Sherwood obviously is already there. It's tough to watch right now. Brock Besser, And Jake DeBrusk can't escape any of this as well. Jake DeBrusk has 1 goal in 16 hockey games, and that came on a power play. So again, he's got 1 goal 5-on-5 all season. I've made that point before. It's sort of mind-blowing to think for a guy that essentially plays top 6 minutes and the power play, and is looked to be, and he led the team in goals last year, and he's got 1 5-on-5 goal, and here we are now past Christmas. So, yeah, it's tough. I mean, I asked Adam Foote about it this morning and just said, like, most of the recent success has come on the backs of new guys or some of these younger players. What about this trio of veteran wingers? And Adam Foote said, absolutely need more. And then he sort of cryptically said they're all dealing with things that I don't want to get into right now. So, I mean, I think that paints the picture that Besser and Garland, and I don't know about DeBrusk, but these veteran guys that have been pretty regular and consistent contributors for the Vancouver Canucks have just gone MIA on the score sheet, essentially.
The invisibility of DeBrusk is really, like, for a guy who came into the season talking to me quite openly about how much he wanted to be more involved in the forecheck. And he had that one really nice forecheck in the second period and almost set Rossi up for a really good scoring chance that Rossi just couldn't handle for whatever reason. But for a guy that loves to get in on the puck, like, it's just such a rare sight. And, we see him occasionally on the power play here and there, but it really was. As you pointed it out after, I remember, and I was just thinking, you know what, you're right. Like, I mean, I've been sort of going on this, okay, Besser's dealing with something, and, I guess we've been figuring Garland is too. But if all 3 of them are dealing with something, I mean, that is the nature of the business. They will all tell you that it's a hard game and you got to be ready to play. Even when you're not 100%. But and that can't be the reason why, in the end, this team is not winning. No. Because there's more guys than just them. But in the end, especially DeBrusk and Besser. Someone asked me tonight during the game, what do you think about Rossi? And I was just like, well, I mean, he can pass, but look who he's been playing with.
Look he's passing to
one
right
or two
now.
of those guys, and they haven't been doing anything. Yeah. So, yeah, it's tough to watch.
It is. And, again, there are times for any goal scorer. There's times where lots of chances and they're just not going. Right now, like, Brock had 2 shots in this hockey game. He's a volume shooter, and he had 1 chance in the third period. Other than that, the puck's just not around his stick much. He's not a whole lot happening. And, early in the slump, he was sort of paired with David Kemp, and nothing was happening. But he's had Marco Rossi now for the better part of 6 games here, and it's still awfully quiet around Brock Besser. He's not alone, but a guy that he had 24 goals at Christmas 2 years ago. He was second to Austin Matthews in the NHL.
JT Miller, man.
They don't have a player with 24 points on this roster, and he had 24 goals at Christmas 2 years ago.
Oh, Lordy.
Yes, we long wistfully for the days of yore, because, this team, not that team. That much we know for sure. Want to get to the stat that stands out. It's always delivered by Uber Eats. And Uber Eats is enabling fans to maximize their fandom all season long with exclusive game day deals on the app. Every time the Canucks are playing at home, you can get a buy one, get one 6-piece chicken McNuggets from McDonald's in Vancouver only on Uber Eats. From game day eats to paper plates and napkins, if you're hosting, to all the ingredients you need to make your favorite game day dip before, during, and after the game, Uber Eats assisting every fan's hockey experience all season long. #crave the stats. And this stat stands out. Thatcher Demko's first ever loss to the San Jose Sharks. He was 13-0.
Wow.
California boy, Southern California guy. Maybe he had it in for the guys up north, whatever the case. Own the San Jose Sharks until tonight. But, you're not going to win them all, generally, over the course of a lengthy career. So there's now a dent in that record, 13-1 lifetime against San Jose. That's definitely a stat that stands out.
Well, and it sounds like it talked quite a bit about the struggles in the game tonight. Didn't like a couple of the goals. I mean, we know he didn't like that first goal, and it seemed like he was arguing pretty vociferously with Adam Foote for having not challenged, which seemed like a stretch. I think we've already kind of gone over it. I just don't know if that was coming back. But.
And I assume, because we haven't heard from Demko, well, I hadn't heard from any of them for the last 3 days, but we generally you're not going to hear from him the morning of a game, but after the game, I'll be curious if he's asked about that and that interaction with Adam Foote, and if he has had a chance now to see a replay, and if that changes his mind at all. Because as I said, I just didn't see enough there that was going to overturn the call on the ice.
I mean, it's rare that you get a goalie to admit that a goal was his fault.
For sure.
So in a situation like that where he feels like he's been, I would have a hard time imagining he would see anything other than I was trying to cover the puck and the guy shoved my hand away. So, I mean, the rule says that you can't shove the stick or shove the pads, but it looked pretty clear from the angle here that Reeves got his stick on the puck and drove it under his hand. So it'd be a hard one to claim.
Yeah. And for Demko, came back for that home game against Buffalo, then went out on the road trip, was good out on the road. Obviously, Philadelphia at the end of the trip was finally able to get to him in the third period. Sharks get to him here. But he has started 6 of the last 7 Canuck games. Now, again, there was a holiday break in there, so this isn't so much, he's played a bunch of games in a short span of time, but 6 starts for Demko to 1 for Lankinen.
Right.
That's the math that doesn't add up. It can't add up the remainder of the season. I don't care how well Thatcher plays.
Right.
They've got to get it back to a closer to sort of 3 for you, 2 for the other guy. And we said with the back-to-backs coming up here, there'd be a split, but I am curious to see if this is a bit of a reality check that, again, if they thought that they could come firing out of the gates here after the holiday and pick up points on San Jose and start their feverish climb back up the standings, instead they're smacked in the face here. They're 32nd in the league again. There's just no need or point in overplaying Thatcher Demko.
Well, and it's just a reminder, you win 4 in a row now if you lost 2 straight and you're still 32nd. So It's sort of what are you playing? I mean, that comes back to my point about Besser, I guess. And I mean, I think back a lot to with the Ilya Mikheyev season when I asked Patrick Allvin when they decided to shut him down, and he said, well, what are we playing for? And they knew that then. There's no doubt they know that now. And so, if not only should they be talking about basically being realistic with their veterans who want to keep playing, but they need to be realistic with their goalies as well.
I mentioned this on social. There are scouts at every game. That's not news. But when you see a team have 2 members of its scouting staff along Scouts Row, it's interesting at the very least. Colorado was that team. Now, I have seen people pointing out that, hey, the Avs would make a ton of sense. They are the best team in the National Hockey League. Kiefer Sherwood, they're familiar with him. He used to be part of the organization. Yeah. Were they? I don't have proof that they were looking at Kiefer Sherwood, but they have Mackenzie Blackwood and they've got Scott Wedgwood, and now you could get Kiefer Sherwood. It would fit in. You get, you monopolize all the woods of the National Hockey League. As somebody pointed out, though, and this is important, the Colorado Avalanche have no picks in the first 3 rounds this draft. They have traded away, went out and got Brock Nelson, paid a hefty price for him. They have dealt all of their picks in the first 3 rounds in this year's draft. Now, they do have a 2027 first rounder and 2 second rounders next year. But if you're the Vancouver Canucks and you're holding this auction for Kiefer Sherwood, I think you're trying to maximize as many picks as you can in this draft this year. So I don't know if that discounts Colorado entirely, but it's important information to keep in mind if the Avs did in fact have 2 sets of eyes on Kiefer Sherwood at this hockey game.
I'll point out also, by the way, that the Avalanche gave up on Miles Wood. They could have really cornered him.
Of course.
But,
what were they thinking?
What I mean, listen. I also threw the thought at you that, Andrew Cogliano is in his second season as a special assistant GM, which is usually that smart retired player wants to learn about management. So it is possible he was learning the ropes with Kerr's decision. That said, I also wonder, would they look at a guy like Evander Kane, throw him out on your bottom, that if you're talking about what actual picks they have, I don't think anybody's assuming for Kane's going to go for much, but I think he will be interesting to a team. He's certainly got some jump back in his stride. His hands are not great, but he plays with energy, he plays with pop, and I could see a team being interested in having him sort of in that Ryan Reeves kind of fourth line. He's not a goon, but playing hard and having a bit of a presence when he's on the ice kind of role, and maybe the Avalanche are interested in something like that.
Do they like penalties?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
It was a bit of a weak call, but
Yeah.
he takes the Canucks off a power play there late in the second period, and it's just like, really?
Yeah.
He's among the league leaders in minor penalties taken, and that comes with the territory. That's part of the Evander Kane experience. We should mention now that both Tyler Myers took 2 and Marcus Pettersson, and at one point they were both in the penalty box. Sharks didn't score on the 5-on-3. They did score with Pettersson's penalty in effect, but with Kane, Marcus Pettersson, and Tyler Myers, Canucks have 3 of the top 15 minor penalty takers in the National Hockey League. So too many trips to the box for those 3 when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks. This segment of Rink Wide, presented by the Pacific Toyota dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. It's a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. You can drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone. That's enough to get you from downtown to the rink to the grocery store, and then back home to recharge. It seamlessly transitions from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower or style, with its sleek, low, and wide exterior, sophisticated interior it's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. And you can lease a 2026 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $109 weekly at 3.99% APR for 64 months with $3,300 down. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. 6-3 Sharks over the Vancouver Canucks. It was the return, the long-awaited return of Elias Pettersson, EP40. It was his 500th National Hockey League regular season game, so that had been delayed because he hadn't played since the 6th of December against Utah, and then he took the warm-up the next night against Minnesota, decided he couldn't go. Hadn't seen him since in uniform, was out on the road trip, was skating with the team, skating with his wife at Rockefeller Center, but back in uniform tonight. Doesn't factor in the scoring, but when you look at the box score here for EP40, 20 minutes and 47 seconds, so lots of ice time, 3 shots on 5 attempts. He wins 11 of the 20 faceoffs that he took. So, some reasonable numbers there. Actually, I noticed them for the right reasons. Now, people don't want to hear, a play here and a play there. We're talking about Celebrini with his 16 shot attempts and then a goal and an assist. This guy is making what he makes. You want to see him as a difference maker. I'll give him a little bit of leeway coming back off a 3-week injury, but no points. But what did you think of PD's night overall?
Well, first of all, the thing that caught my eye before the game was Adam Kirstenstadt's excellent point that he's had 479 points to this point in his career, which is more than any other Canuck in team history has scored through 500 games, which is a reminder of how strong a player he's been for this team in the past, and certainly we still I think can be that guy again. But I agree. Like, I think a pretty good night, especially for a guy that hadn't played in a couple weeks. The contrast with Celebrini was hard to miss. Your number one center, and coming back, carried the puck well, and I thought he skated the puck well, and was trying to create stuff, and as you said, got the puck on net a few times. I never felt like he was a huge threat to score the way Celebrini consistently was, and again, player coming back off injury. We'll see how he is. Let's talk again next week. It has been good to see him play well this season. But in the end, if this is going to be the guy, you just consistently need more. And like I said, 479 points, 500 games. That's pretty good, especially when you consider that there was struggles last year.
Yep.
And he has generally been a point per game guy, and he's done that. And maybe when he was, especially with younger, struggled to stay healthy a little bit. But here he is now, and he's in his, he's entering his. Well, I guess he's still in his mid-20s.
He's 27.
27, but he's in his late 20s, right? Like it's kind of now or never. And so I am curious to see how things go for him in the next couple months here, certainly. Because the other thing, you watch the pregame video. I commented on this. I know I said this to you. You watch that pregame video that's been re-edited and removes Quinn Hughes.
Yes.
And, still is fun and vibrant. But Petey's face is now all over that pregame video, and it's a reminder that more than anything, whatever this team is going to be, he, at least as far as we know, for now, is the guy, and they're going to have to find a way to make him the guy, and everyone's going to have to follow where he goes, because in the end, that's what your best player needs to do, and he is now, without a doubt, this team's best player.
Yeah, I mean, they've peeled away layers. Bo is gone. JT's gone. Now Quinn's gone. He is still here. Now, when I look through the notes that I took as this game went along, you referenced that sequence where Celebrini on the back check and got a good piece of Garland. There was a lot going on that sequence, because moments later, Petey got in too tight and had the puck just below the goal line and tried to bank it in off Askarov.
Right.
And I thought, that's the creativity.
Yeah.
It didn't work, but it's low percentage, but I like the fact that he's thinking, I have an opportunity here, and I really don't have other place. I'm going to try and bank it in. So it didn't happen for him. Puck goes up ice, and at the Canucks blue line, he's got it in his feet, and he's got his head down, and Iorio absolutely blew him up.
Yeah.
You don't see Petey get hit like that. You don't see him puck watching that often, but he definitely had his head down. Evander Kane was there and sort of, looked at Iorio, and I thought, that's Evander Kane's role in all of this.
Yeah.
Nothing happened there. But in the second period, some vintage Petey, he had the reverse hit on Barclay Goodrow and blew him up.
Yeah.
And again, I was like, okay, I want to see that. Now, we talked about lost the faceoff cleanly to Celebrini on the Klingberg goal, so that wasn't great. He's on the ice for 3 of the Shark goals ultimately on the night, 3 of the 6 that they scored. I think he was out there for the empty netter, so not going to hold that against him. They need more. It's as simple as that, and you're right. He's back in the lineup now. They've made the trades. He's got some support down the middle in Marco Rossi. Whatever this team is, they're going to need more out of him. But one night, I think, for the most part, you kind of just say, all right, get your feet back out under you, get the timing of the game again. But, hopefully there is more and more sooner for Elias Pettersson, who, like Brock Besser, hasn't scored since that afternoon in San Jose with that incredible goal where he batted it out of the air and spun around. Now, he's missed a lot of time, but still, that was a month ago. So, if he's going months between goals, that's not great for him or this hockey club. All right. When we look at some of the underlying numbers, this, again, the Canucks gave up way too much. This was not a pretty game for them statistically or on the scoreboard. Sharks control 55% of all the even strength shot attempts. The shots for at even strength, 24-19. The scoring chances, 20-17 in favor of San Jose. The high dangers were a 2-1 margin at 10-5, and that sort of matches the eye test. The second period was dreary for the Vancouver Canucks. There was not much. They got outshot 11-6. They had a power play in there that they didn't do anything with, and it felt like the ice had sort of sloped in the favor of the San Jose Sharks there. Now, showed some signs of life with the early goal in the third period, but still, on the whole, the Sharks outscored the Canucks 4-1 at 5-on-5 in this hockey game.
Well, yeah, and I love looking at the heat maps. You can look at that heat map, and that tells a big story. At 5-on-5, Canucks really struggled to get into the middle of the ice. In fact, I at one point I remember looking at it and being like, I think it was after the second, in fact, they just had not got on top of the net. Askarov was not challenged in close at all. And most goalies, when they are not challenged in close at all, are going to have a very nice, calm night. That's the kind of night they like. Although I guess they do like pulling off spectacular saves, but to a degree. But they don't want to have traffic in front of them. The Canucks really struggled in the first 2 periods to get to the net, to create action around there. Much better in the third. It was, I suppose, credit to them for pushing back, but in the end, as they've done too much this season, that's because they've been chasing the game. And you mentioned the penalties earlier. Your big guys chasing the game, that's when they take penalties because you don't have the puck. And certainly we remember how much Rick Tocchet used to talk about stick penalties, trips and hooks and all those kinds of things. And the Canucks are getting guilty of that because they're constantly in the wrong place, which is not holding on to the puck. And too little, too late for them.
We've talked about Marco Rossi and his night. Mm-hmm. There was some good and some not so good. Our first look with our own eyes at Zeev Buium and Liam Ogren, their home debuts. They both sounded excited this morning, talked about it being a whirlwind, obviously the trade, but then relocating, and this is home now, transferring your life essentially from Minnesota to Vancouver in a brief holiday break and then getting back to work here. Buium's got a big personality. Yeah. I think fans here are going to embrace him, and you're going to have to live with some growing pains and learning on the job. He is so young still. There were some moments. He made a nice play. Was it Delandria that got the hook on him?
Yeah.
Made the little shift to the blue line and put the Shark in a position where he had no choice, but essentially to hook him. There were some plays. He had trouble on power play in the third period, keeping a puck in at the line that, we just become so accustomed to taking for granted that puck's always going to stay in the line because the old guy used to make it stay in the line. When I look at Buium's night, 22-24, so they got him up over 22 minutes. Doesn't have a shot on goal, something to monitor because, if he's going to play that much and if he's going to be on the power play, you certainly want to see him getting pucks through and on net. What did you make of Zeev Buium's night?
Yeah, I think the more realistic night of what we should be seeing. Obviously, he had such a great start.
Yeah,
we can see he can handle the puck. Like that is what's gotten him this far, and why he's in the NHL at such a young age. I do think you look at the talent and you look at the quality of the player. He will get better defensively. That is the biggest question mark for him right now. But yeah, young defenseman takes him a little while. I mean, Tom Willander is still an up and down guy, and he's a year older and but also not a lot of experience at the NHL level. And yet, even from the beginning of the year, I think Willander's come a long way. So Buium, I really enjoy the way he sees the game. The thing that actually stands out to me, Jeff, is watching the power play because, of course, it is very different now, right? We were so used, as you said, Hughes doing the cuts and the turns and just the ability to find space in a moment's notice. And you can still see the sort of cues that the likes of Pettersson or Besser, who got so used to playing with him up top and knowing sort of I have to go here because he is just going to be in the spot to deliver me the puck. And that's not so much the case anymore. And so it was interesting. I spent a lot of time watching Pettersson on the power play and how he was realizing, I've got to move. And we'll see if there's a sort of sort of fine tuning here if this really does start working because they do have to move differently. But it's an interesting process, at least. I mean, you're looking for things to pick out of a game where they lost 6-3, and overall, the overall course here going forward is not going to be that compelling. But trying to see how that kind of all comes together, and you look at Rossi playing on the left half wall where he played a lot tonight, a guy who can pass the puck, and how they kind of start to understand what each other's trying to do and where they're trying to go. Certainly, like we saw I think we've already said the first game that Pettersson and Rossi got to play together, and the first time they were on the power play together. He's a player that is. We can see why the Canucks were excited to get him, and why in the end, given all the options, I think there was talk with Carolina, for instance. I heard that as well, and in Nikishin, I know his name's been thrown out there. I think that was correct as well. But that in the end, they found an interesting defense prospect in exchange for the guy that was just doing everything for them. And in this new era, he's an interesting player to watch.
The other guy that comes over, Liam Ogren, had a couple of nice games there before the break. I thought fairly quiet.
Pretty quiet,
game.
Not much.
And again, that's going to happen too. He's remember, he hadn't scored a goal this season until he got his first two out on the road trip. So it's been a struggle for him. And again, young, and it's on the Canucks now to maximize his opportunities. But if with these healthy bodies like with Höglander and Aatu Räty here. If Liam Ogren has to sit out a night, it's not the end of the world at this stage of his career. And I'm not advocating for that. I like what I've seen. I just thought he was fairly quiet in this one. I am going to be curious to see what practice looks like when they are back on the ice Sunday at Rogers Arena before they head to Seattle, and they'll take on the Kraken on Monday night. All right, want to hear from Adam Foote. Certainly, we've had our thoughts here on a number of talking points to come out of this game. Disappointing way to start out of the holiday break. We're going to get to the coach in a second here. We've got another super chat supporting the BC Mental Health Foundation. The Maniac Studio says, is Petey's wrist injury maybe a little less stressful for him with the extra talent on board to take the expectation of performing off of him? Are we still talking about... Are we talking about like the old wrist injury? Is this a suggestion that this new thing is a wrist injury? Because I don't think it's ever been disclosed what kept him out of the lineup here for these 8 games.
They said upper body at some point. I mean, I think the presumption... I think the feeling was it's hard to imagine what else it could have been. And we know it's been an off and on issue in the past for him. No, I think that, listen, everything we know about Elias Pettersson, at the end of the day, this is a guy that wants to win. Now, there's been criticism of how he gets there.
Yeah.
But in the end, this is a guy that loves winning. And, as I've said, I think many times on this show, years ago asking him, about his sort of energies on the back check. And he would always say, I don't like not having the puck. And you can understand why, because when he has the puck, he does do pretty fun things. No, I don't think that he'll feel any pressure off. In fact, he probably feels more pressure because, like I said, he's the guy who's going to be the main guy on the billboard now, and there's no Quinn Hughes, and he knows that. And there's none of the other guys that used to be here. Brock Besser's obviously here, but there's not, there's no Miller, there's no Horvat. He is the guy in the middle, and I think he will take, or at least he'll think about the pressure. How he takes it on, we'll find out, I guess. But certainly a guy that I think is going to say, no, I'm here to play, and I'm going to try to win.
Still ahead, our Bet365 line of the night. We'll take a look at the next opponent, the Seattle Kraken. In fact, the Canucks' next 2 opponents are going at it in Seattle tomorrow. So more on that coming up here. But let's get back to Rogers Arena. Hear from the head coach of the Vancouver Canucks. Now, we haven't had a chance to hear from Adam Foote, so we'll listen along with you here, see what the coach thought of his team in a 6-3 loss to the Sharks.
Well, I mean, we weren't ready to play early. We got outworked early. You saw the first goal, we think we have that big 5-on-3 kill. We're going to get that and come back, and we got to finish that kill off. But they were outworking us early in that game. Yeah, our guys know the rule when the after rebound, when 2 players, the goaltender and a player, are simultaneously going after that puck at once. The rule states it's not going to be called back, and it's it was hard to see on that angle if he had it completely covered. But our guys didn't think that one was going to get called back. Yeah, he's a good hockey player. He's we all know that, and he played good. He found the open space up high and got pucks to the net, and they were digging. He worked hard.
What did you see from Connor Garland's game tonight?
He was digging. Garland never quits. He's been going through some things, a couple different injuries, but I thought today he was digging. He's always there to play for you.
Petey, first game back in a while. What'd you make of his play?
Petey had a good game. I mean, he played a fine game there for not playing in a long time and then having the 4-day break. It shows he put a lot of work into it, and his legs seem to be fine.
We talked about the first goal with Thatcher. Overall, he talked about some goals that he wanted to have back. What did you make of his game? It's not often he gives up 5.
Yeah, I mean, he's a true pro. Like he knows which one he probably wanted back, and I think it was a flyby screen, the second one. But in saying that, I think if he's in his position, he'd tell you that. I mean, Thatcher wasn't an issue tonight. It was more of we just weren't ready to start. Especially our vets got to be ready to let the drop of the puck to get going here.
All right, a few thoughts from Adam Foote after the loss here. Covered a fair bit of ground in a short span of time there. Outworked on the first goal.
Yep.
Not ready to go.
Yep.
Now, that was a refrain of his late in the road trip as well, where he kind of looked at the veteran guys, I think the guys that we've talked about here. Mentioned that Connor Garland's playing through a couple of things.
Yep.
Like Petey's game.
Yep.
and agreed that Demko, without carving Thatcher Demko, basically said he knows that Demko probably would have liked to have made a few more saves along the way there. So.
And did his best to try to remember how to read out Rule 69.7, which I couldn't find earlier. Which, do you want me to read it? I can tell you quickly.
Sure.
In a rebound situation, or where a goalkeeper and attacking player or players are simultaneously attempting to play a loose puck, whether inside or outside the crease, incidental contact with the player will be permitted, and any goal that is scored as a result thereof will be allowed. So that was him acknowledging, listen, the puck was loose. There's a person trying to get the puck. The goalie's allowed to try to get the puck, but
got outworked.
He got outworked.
Got outworked.
We watched the replay. Will Lander just kind of, my goodness, what do I do?
Yep.
And I'm not sure anybody's stopping Ryan Reeves in that situation.
No, but we've seen that a couple of times where guys have been able to get position on Tom Willander, who's not the biggest guy in the world. He should get stronger as he grows into his career. But again, these are the things that he is going to learn from, you hope, and will fill out and get a little stronger so that he can battle. Again, not a lot of guys are going to win a brute force competition against a guy like Ryan Reeves. And hey, Ryan Reeves up to 3 goals on the season. How about John Klingberg has 9 goals, Patrick?
Oh my God!
You
turned and said that to me, and I was like, "What?"
When I saw that, and I was like, "How many defensemen in the league have 9 goals this season?" There are 4 guys in the league that have more goals. 4 defensemen in the league that have more goals than John Klingberg. Who knew? 9 goals.
I think this is the player that the Toronto Maple Leafs wanted to get and didn't, because I guess he was broken even when they signed him.
Maybe, will there be another team that thinks, hey?
Absolutely. If you're San Jose, absolutely. This is a guy that you move on and you find something else to do with whatever you get back for him.
I just think, acquiring teams would be teams that are heading to the playoffs.
Yeah.
You're not getting John Klingberg to score you a bunch of goals in the playoffs, and then the question is, can he defend well enough to hold down a regular spot in your lineup when the games get a little spicier come postseason? Another super chat supporting the BC Mental Health Foundation. This one from Casey Shuffle, a regular. Hi, PJ. My dad was excited to get Gino for Christmas.
Not the only person that's told me they gave their dad or stepdad or uncle or father-in-law or brother or sister or mom.
I'm sure it was under a lot of trees.
There were a lot of
stockings.
People. Thank you all.
Yes.
I'm glad your dad enjoyed it.
It was a good read. I've read it front to back. I have, and I grew up watching Gino. Yeah. I felt like I had a pretty good handle on Gino, and yet, as I read through the book, I learned an awful lot about Gino, which is the point of the book itself. He is a complicated guy.
Yeah, he was. And, big shout out to Peter, my co-author. Sure. It was him who first approached me, and, he knew Gino very, very well. And, we're very proud of what we put together. And it wasn't easy, but, as Gino's sister said to us, now my brother lives forever. Yeah. So, and she was very pleased with what we put together. So
there you go. Yeah. Bet365 line of the night. We've mentioned that the Canucks are in Seattle on Monday. Before then, Kraken playing their first game out of the holiday break, as are the Philadelphia Flyers starting a Western road trip. So Rick Tockett's team's going to be in Seattle to take on the Kraken tomorrow. Flyers are the favorites. Kraken have won 3 straight, though. So who knows? Maybe the break didn't come at a good time for them. Wanted to keep on playing. But you can get Seattle at plus 110 on the money line as the home underdogs. So the Canucks will watch intently because they can do a little pre-scout on both of these teams, even though they just saw the Flyers.
Yeah.
Kraken at 15, 14, and 6. Lane Lambert in his first year behind the bench there. As I said, they went into the break on a 3-game win streak. They swept California. Again, the Ducks have sort of come back to earth. The Kings are in and out, and the Sharks team is fun, but beatable for some teams, not the Canucks. Anyway, Seattle went down through the state of California and picked up 3 straight wins. Jordan Eberle leads the team, 13 goals and 23 points. He's the only double-digit goal scorer that they have. They are the lowest scoring team in the National Hockey League, or the Kraken.
Third coach in 5 seasons. That's the other thing that really stands out to me. There's sort of
that and they just lack star power, right? Like Matty Beniers had a nice rookie season, but he has not been at that level. And Shane Wright, who I'm not giving up on in any way, but hasn't reached the level that, remember, I mean, his draft year, everybody thought he was going first overall for the longest time, right up to draft day, in fact, ends up slipping to fourth. So two young guys that they've had higher hopes for, and maybe they'll get there, but right now not so much, and injuries as well. Jared McCann, I think he's only played 11 games for them this year. James Schwartz is out for a while, and now Brandon Montour is out. So all three of those guys out with injuries. Through it all, and this surprised me as I was looking earlier today, the Kraken have the third best 5-on-5 save percentage in the National Hockey League. Been a huge bounce back for Philip Grubauer.
Yeah.
Like, he looked like he was, he did. He played his way out of the NHL for a short time last year. He's been good, and Joey Decord just continues to give them solid net minding. So I don't know. It's back-to-back. First game out of the break, I would think Decord probably gets the nod, and then the Canucks very well could see Philip Grubauer on Monday night. But this year's Grubauer is not last year's Grubauer. And so even if you're seeing a backup there, that doesn't necessarily mean that there's a huge drop-off in the performance level of the Seattle goaltender. So there you go. It's the I-5 rivalry, even though both teams are below the playoff bar, and I don't know if it's really much of a rivalry at all. Someday, dare to dream, but it's not there yet.
Well, I was going to say also they've actually had 5 starts from Matt Murray. If you can believe
He's
it.
hurt too.
Yeah, I mean, he's hurt now, but in those 5 starts, .922 save percentage. No wins, though, which kind of tells the story. He played really well.
Right. Lowest scoring team doesn't
8
get
goals
him.
against, and his team cannot score anything for him. So that tells you kind of the story of the Kraken season writ large. And yeah, you're right. You go look at their scoring lineup, and it's Eberle in 35 games, 23 Tolan and Chandler Stevenson. It's like, okay, yeah, those are nice depth guys on your team. And, a smart team would trade for Eberle and probably trade for Tolvin, probably trade for Stevenson, but they're not playing anywhere near your top 6 on a proper playoff team, I don't think.
Those are the guys for the Kraken. And so,
Vince Dunn, once upon a time, great guy. Brandon Montour, I think, a couple of seasons ago might have been in conversation for Team Canada, but he's not in the conversation now. It's just a team with a bunch of guys that just kind of getting old. In a way, it reminds me almost like looking at some of those early 70s, like the Canucks expansion team. Let's get a bunch of guys that can play, smart hockey. Well, in the end, yeah, that's nice, but you need people to put the puck in the net.
Yeah.
And that's what this team struggles to do.
Oh, the team that we cover struggles to do a lot of things, and so watch that be a breakout night for the Seattle Kraken. That just sort of seems to be the way. The Sharks are 2-0 now against the Canucks. Beat them down there, and now have beaten them here. Sharks will be back in Vancouver, so if you didn't get a chance to see Macklin Celebrini with your own eyes, don't miss out. He's back again in January, so just ahead of the Olympics, and then the Canucks will play San Jose's home finale, the final week of the regular season. They'll be down in the Bay Area. Before then, though, it's in Seattle Monday and then home to Philadelphia. So back-to-back here on Monday and Tuesday. Just looking at the updated standings, Kraken are 26th in the National Hockey League, so they're not having much of a year. But with the completion of play now around the league on this Saturday night, the first night out of the holiday break, Nashville has 36 points. Columbus has 36 points. Calgary beat Edmonton, so they got a little revenge in the Battle of Alberta. The Flames are up to 36 points as well. Then there's the drop to the next tier of teams, and that includes the Nashville Predators. Check that. I hadn't even updated my standings here. So the Flames are at 36 points. Winnipeg, an overtime loss to Minnesota. The President Trophy winning Jets of a year ago are tied with Chicago with 34 points apiece, and there are the Canucks, 33 points, 37 games, a .446 point percentage. They are 32nd and last in the updated standings.
But only the second worst goal differential.
So there's that. Oh my.
Yeah, it's tough reading, and you can see why in the end this team, again, hopefully management delivers on what they have been talking, and Jim Rutherford sent me. He just sort of said that word rebuild, and obviously Patrick Alvin has tried to modify that a little bit. But on the whole, the plan is to build for the future and find some more young players and bank into a season or two from now into a team that is not just fun to watch, but winning games. And right now they're not doing much of either.
One other number to throw your way, 18,992, the announced attendance, which qualifies as a sellout at Rogers Arena, but we were both there. We saw some empty seats.
It was better though. I mean, I think I said to you, I had
yeah.
a bit of a late rush to the game, and so I usually park near Commercial Drive and then take the SkyTrain in. And there was no one on the platform when I walked in at 1:45 or whatever it was, and then when I got in even outside, obviously people are coming into the rink. Usually I'm there sort of half an hour earlier than that, so there's a bit of noise on the concourse or outside. It was surprising to me that there wasn't a late arriving crowd, and then when we came in, obviously especially the club section, you look downstairs, was not full. I was sort of surprised. I was, I guess, pleased for the sake of the Vancouver fan to see that there were a lot of people there. And the claim of a sellout. I mean, the pocket that we always look down to the left of where we sit is usually an area, and when you look at the seat map, is the seats that are just for sale. They're not resold, and they were actually all full. So perhaps they had a late rush of discounted tickets that people scooped up for Christmas or something. Anyway,
Christmas gifts. Who knows? Whatever the case, I think some people are numb to it too. And we talked about the home ice record this year. It's almost like you go into the building expecting to be disappointed and let down, and on that front, the Canucks, they are delivering. If that's how low your expectations are, it wasn't good for the home team. I agree with the coach. Got outworked early on. Didn't seem ready to go in this one, and again, there's nowhere to go but up, and we'll see if they can go up or if they are just going to spin their wheels at the bottom of the National Hockey League standings. All right, that is going to do it for us. Always fun to get you back in here, so appreciate it. Again, if you haven't read it, pick up a copy of Gino, available online and at bookstores everywhere.
On BC Ferries still. I saw it at London Drugs the other day.
Perfect.
And, every time I wonder, I'm like, okay, is it looks like we sold a couple. So there we go. Yeah.
Perfect. Buy it. And buy an extra copy for a friend. Jake Fraser helping out behind the scenes. We thank him for his work here on Rink Wide. The final score again, 6-3. The San Jose Sharks defeat Vancouver Canucks. Irf will be back on Monday when the Canucks are in Seattle to take on the Kraken. That'll be the next episode of Rink Wide Vancouver.